who is excused. I will be asking, um, I'll be asking Council Mayor Pro Tem Valentine to do the invocation, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by City Attorney Russ Muirhearn.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, we're not seeing you.
You can, Councilmember Montero, if you go to the second page, he's at the bottom right. It's because he added late. He's the last one to be added. So that's why he's at the end.
Okay.
Can you see him?
Yeah, I see him now.
Or you can change your view to speaker's view, and then whoever's speaking will.
Okay, I can
You
see
can hide
him
the
now.
non-video participants as well.
Oh, but now I cannot see Miss Valentine. Huh.
That is true.
If you hide all non-video participants, you should be able to see all of us.
Yeah. So right click, and then you'll see that, Councilmember Montero, and then you can choose that option.
Right
Oh,
click.
that's really cool. Right click on one of the boxes.
Thanks for the tip, City Manager Lee.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, shall we begin?
Yes.
May we bow our heads? Great and gracious God, please, we ask in the name of God to protect our city, protect our residents, and protect our country as we continue to move through this terrible virus, and as we continue to work in the city to preserve our resources and to protect our residents. Thank you for what you have done for us in the past. Thank you for bringing our city through some terrible times, and continue to bless us as we continue to struggle and ask for your mercy and grace. This we ask in the name of God and for his sake. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Please face the flag of our nation and place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chief Ishii has a presentation on the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. It's good to see everybody again in this new year. It's been a while. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about something that has really come up recently, and I wanted to bring attention to the public of really some of the struggles that maybe doesn't make the media. And specifically what we want to discuss is our high school students or children that are really struggling during this COVID time of almost being homeless, living in motels, and really the struggles of not going to school. And what I would like to do is introduce Officer Shelly Yoshida, and she's our school resource officer at Hawthorne High School. We have a great relationship with Centinela Valley School District, and she is our school resource officer there. And with her today is Melanie McLaren. She's an intervention specialist with the school, and they work hand in hand. And they shared with me a story a couple weeks ago on what they've been doing, and it was really heartbreaking and very emotional. So I wanted to have them, give them as much time as possible to share some of the things that they've been seeing and the struggles they've seen in the schools. And hopefully through this and some of the things that we can do, we can find opportunities through the city to help. At the end of the day, we want to help students and children, do their best under difficult circumstances. So with that, I'd like to introduce Officer Shelly Yoshida and Melanie.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, City Council, for having us tonight. Happy birthday to Councilmember Alex Montero, sir. Hope you had a good one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, sir. And so in our presentation, we'll cover the topic of homelessness and underhoused students in Hawthorne, but also kind of share the Cliff Notes version of how we stumbled and into the journey of finding these kids. We apologize ahead of time for our masks. Let us know if you have trouble hearing us. All right, can we get our PowerPoint, please? Thank you very much, sir. All right, so as a police department that's partnering and works closely with the high school, we understood the need to approach home visits regarding attendance differently than we normally would due to obviously the COVID pandemic and the climate at the time. A few reasons. Number one, we found that kids weren't ditching out parks like they used to. They weren't hanging out and skateboarding by the liquor stores, and they weren't seen walking to school 2 to 3 hours late. Number two, we understood that sometimes in a non-perfect world, the school can be a student's safe haven. And when we say that, sometimes it's a refrigerator and sometimes it's their toy chest, meaning sometimes they come to school for food and other times they come to school just to play basketball. And so we decided to meet the needs of the students that's rapidly evolving during this pandemic, which meant morphing our duties as both SRO and RTI by putting our enforcement card in our back pocket and really bringing to the forefront our resource card. So the next few slides, if we can get the next slide, please, we'll cover the bulleted points in detail. So what we have here is home visits that consisted of given resources. We provide the school resources that consist of the bell schedule, tutoring, and also tech support for Chromebooks. And on the SRO side, we provided kind of counseling in every form for a minor in the state of California, and also my own business card. Next slide, please. Go ahead, Sandy.
So like Officer Yoshida said, these are just some of the resources that we offered to the parents and to the students. Because one of the things that we noticed was students had a lot of issues with technology. That's why they weren't logging into their classes. So we needed was to take that immediate support, how they can get support so they could log into their classes, and also the tutoring piece, how they could get that additional support in the afternoon, because we knew that it was hard for them to just be at home and the parents were not able to help them.
Next slide, please. So on the SRO side of things, normally as a department, we strive to refer students to restorative justice programs, such as Sentinel Youth Services and CCJ, which is what you see in front of you. CCJ stands for California Conference for Equality and Justice. And so being that we're no longer dealing with violations being committed in schools, we really leaned into what CCJ provides, and that's the Real Resiliency Program. And Real Resiliency is basically redefining empowerment through accountability and learning. And so through the home visits, myself and McLaren noticed that some of the topics we saw were the need for healthy relationships, which meant family counseling, handling life challenges, you know, just those teenage growing pains that kids need help with, critical thinking, and gender identity. And a lot of these topics that we just mentioned were things that kids would kind of experience in school or out in the real world. But when both are shut down, what do? We now have parents dealing with this 24/7. And so this seemed to be the perfect avenue for us to go to. And as a parent of a second grader myself, if the local SRO and someone from school were to show up, these are the type of things that I want to see. I really wouldn't want anything more than that. Next slide, please. Go ahead.
So what we noticed out there, just to tag in what Officer Yoshida said, was that the parents were literally begging for help. They were begging, asking us, how can we help? My son is depressed, my kids are depressed. They really are begging for help. So with just us being out there, providing those resources, the ones that Officer Yoshida had, and counseling from school, we were able to help to meet some of those needs. In addition to us supporting in a socio-emotional piece, we decided that we want to also celebrate these kids, just to let them know that the school was there for them. So we start celebrating their perfect attendance, exceptional grades, and the parents were just extremely happy that we were at their door. The school was still making connection with them. Just that little bit of joy that we bring to say, hey, your hard work is not going unnoticed.
All right, so as much as our world was changing around us, we wanted to show them that we could bring a little bit of normalcy to them. You know what I mean? If we could just show them as adults, as leaders in the community, that we could still provide what we did at school. And normally we would provide this at school. If a student had perfect attendance, guess what? We're coming to your classroom, we're bringing a certificate and we're bringing a medal. But in this case, you'll see some parents in the photos. And the cool thing about that is that, you know, as kids tend to get older, parents tend to miss out on this type of stuff because, of course, it's done in school, and we're no longer going to our kindergartens, you know, our kindergarten students' class to see this award. So this is kind of a cool thing to see, you know, high school students becoming kids again, and seeing the joy in the parents' faces. Next slide, please. So as we near towards the holidays, McLaren and I continued our home visits, and we started to discover the following. So go ahead.
So we realized that a lot of our kids were homeless. Parents lost their jobs, so they had to move in with other families. And one of the things that we saw was that even though the school is providing the resources and the lunches were there, these kids did not have access to get these lunches. And so that's when Officer Ishida and I decided, like, as a part of our home visits, we will deliver lunches to these families, because you had some kids that were missing school just to get on the bus to go get their lunches. So we decided that we will definitely try our best to make sure that these students get the lunches that were provided at the school.
And the way that we came across this was because there's a teacher at Hawthorne High School who normally likes to remain anonymous, but every year she likes to donate to at least 2 or 3 students who are homeless during the holidays. Being that it's COVID this year, she was unable to, but she heard that we were still doing home visits. So she asked us, hey, would you mind dropping these off to these kids? That was quite the eye-opener for McLaren and I, that Chief mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, because, you know, we see these kids in school, and, you know, you see certain kids take more food than usual, and they'll put it in their backpack, and you figure that it's just an after-school snack. But some of these kids really depend on it, and that's why I say that sometimes school is a kid's refrigerator. Little do we know really until we get to their houses what they're going through. And so one of the families we visited was a homeless family who's living out of a motel, single mom and 2 kids. And, you know, before giving them the gift card from the teacher, I inquired if they were using the school's free food system. And the answer I got was, well, no, we don't have a car. And mind you, this is already, November now? And we've had this system since March, April. So it was a little heartbreaking for us. So, you know, sure enough, I say to my partner, hey, you mind going back to school really quick, loading up my patrol car, as small as the Crown Vic is, and let's head back over here. Let's bring him some food. And so this elected us to look into the situation even more. How many students do we have that are homeless right now, who are borderline homeless? And so if you look at the presentation, some of what we come across was a parent with cancer. I can only imagine. A single parent working sunrise to sundown. Of course, they want to be there for their kids, but they got to provide. Parents who lost their job, parents with only one job. A house of 5 kids with extended family who is currently homeless. And then, of course, parents who have a past. I mean, we're all human here. We're going to have a past, but they're trying to turn their lives around. And so these are some of the things that we discovered along the way. Next slide, please. All right, so the next step was to bring it to my supervisor's attention, Sergeant Nichols, who is over my position at Community Affairs. And what we wanted to do was take a glance at what the school is doing so far for these kids. And what they were doing was, you know, obviously the free lunches, but also they provide free tap cards, free bus tokens, and they also provide free school supplies. So we wanted to, in so many words, supplement what they were already doing and see what we can do as a department, as a city, being that we are in association with them. And so from there, of course, you know, I talked my sergeant into helping us out with this, and, you know, he's a great boss to have around. So he helped us out with this little task at hand. And by the time Christmas time came around, every year we get a lot of toys, we get, you know, winter gear, stuff donated to us from the city. from community members. And so sure enough, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that we visited those needy kids first, and then eventually visited the rest of the city. And so, let's see, next slide, please. And so some of you might follow us on social media. I did post that we were going around the city handing out toys to our kids. The picture in the middle is Sergeant Nichols. And that picture, no one really knows, but when I posted that picture, it was us visiting that single mother with 2 kids living at motels. And, you know, that was something for us, but I share it with you today to kind of give you a visual about what we're seeing and what they're dealing with. And, you know, we approached that front door of this family and the kids were still sleeping. Mom came to the door and said she just woken up and looks at all the gifts. And she said the first thing that came to her mind was Christmas is tomorrow. And I had no idea what I was gonna do to get my kids the gifts that they deserved. And so again, it's heartbreaking, but that only pushed us even further to see what else we can do as a city, as the city of Hawthorne. And so what we have here is it's a temporary fix, but what I see it as is the opening of a door to a more permanent fix. You know, so in turn, we've recently met with the Director of Community Services, Von Norris, to share findings and statuses. And just yesterday, we met with the rest of his team. Jesse Ramirez, the social worker, and Brenda Williams, the assistant recreation supervisor. And so the idea is to pretty much set a plan in motion, which we kind of did so far, and see how exactly we can tackle this as a team, as a community, as a city. And so I know that sometimes it takes a village, but I'm honestly confident in the team we're working with. And so just as a side note, our other SRO who's assigned to the Hawthorne School District is also working on the Hawthorne School District to tackle those same issues. But at this point, like I said, we welcome any ideas from our leaders on the city board, and we just really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley and Melanie, for sharing that. And I'd just like to close. I know we went a little bit over time, but I think it's worth it for something as serious as this. When Shelley and Melanie were telling me the story, and I don't think Melanie will mind me sharing. I said, hey, listen, we need to bring this to the attention of the city, and let's see what we can help, how we can help as a city and as individuals. And she got very emotional and just said, hey, you know what? They've been doing this. They've been literally in the trenches doing this for the year, and not looking for accolades or anything, just trying to help and doing their jobs. And so I think it's our responsibility. I know our commitment for the police department from our end. The school resource officer, I've always viewed as somebody that is going to be a mentor, somebody that builds trust with kids, so that when I don't want a young kid to meet an officer for the first time under bad circumstances. And this is, life-changing for many. We're on a narrative oftentimes of talking about homeless, and there are certain narratives where we're focusing on certain areas, but it is important for our public and our community to know that there are families out there struggling day to day, going from motel to motel, living in cars, and just trying to make it. And as they said, school is their cafeteria, it's their food, and it starts from there. And you'll never know it when they're in school, and we want to make sure they're anonymous so that they can, be a regular kid at school. But behind the scenes, it's the struggles that we as a community, I think, do our best to help. So I wanted to thank this opportunity to speak at the beginning of the council meeting. We will, this isn't just a presentation and we're done. I want to make sure that we provide the support to Melanie and Shelley and do the best we can. And I'm looking forward to our partnership and doing the best to help our community, and especially our young men and women, our young kids that are out there that had, if we think we've had it tough, just think about their past years individually, their families, and we have to be very sensitive and compassionate to them. And I'm super proud of our people, you know, of Shelley and Sergeant Nichols going out there and doing that. And I'm hoping that we can bring back to you in the future some great news and some great success stories. With that, I want to say thank you very much for allowing us the time. Thank you, Melanie, again for all that you're doing out there. Thank you, Shelley, and we hope to report back to you again sometime soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And congratulations. Congratulations. I just wanted to commend, you know, our police department, Officer Yoshida. I actually saw Officer Yoshida that there was like something on Facebook. There was a little snippet, like what, a 10-minute profile. Actually, it was 30 minutes or 20 minutes, right? Profile on that one student that you were helping.
Something around 12, sir. Yes, sir.
Around 12 or something, right? Look, and I was really impressed. This is part of this program, and if it's not part of this program, it's closely related to this program. And I just want to commend you personally and our police department for giving you guys the opportunity to not just bust the criminals, not just bust those illegal drug dealers, but to actually go out and help, you know, promote our residents. So thank you, Officer Yoshida.
Thank
Through
you,
the
Mayor.
chair.
Okay, who was first?
I'll let Ms. Valentine go first.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie, and thank you, Shelley. I've seen you all out in the community all the time, helping others, and I think that you present the best face of our police department. We are the city of good neighbors, and unfortunately, the police departments throughout the country have gotten a bad name, unfortunately, and but for our department, for our police department, I have always felt that our police department is the best in the country, and actually and what you're doing shows exactly what our police department promotes: the community and community engagement with everyone, and attempting to show that we are indeed caring for our neighbors and our residents. So I want to thank Chief Ishii. You're always out there in the community. You're always showing the best face of our police department. And I want to congratulate you, Chief, the police department, and thank you, Melanie and Shelley, for doing what you do. I have a question. How do you identify these students? How do you know which students are in need?
Thank you, ma'am, so far. Well, after we were in contact with the first 3 students who received donations from the Hawthorne High School teacher, we actually met with data processors and asked them to do a lookup. And basically, when a student goes homeless, their parent has the ability to declare themselves homeless in the system, at which time their address will then show Hawthorne High School. And so it's an immediate flag that they're homeless. And then
another way that we found out that they were homeless during this COVID time is that we were making phone calls just to make sure that connection is between the school and the kids. And that's when we learned from the parents what had happened in their lives.
So I assume this is just the tip of the iceberg and that there are many others. How will you identify others?
So what we've done so far, ma'am, is Melanie sent the message to the teachers to take a closer look at their classes. I think the teachers know best. They'll be able to tell when a kid's struggling. I mean, in the world we're in right now, you can kind of see the whole entire room, and I think that they have the best view on really where a student stands as far as being homeless or at risk. So we've asked them to reach out to us should they find any, and I add them in turn to my spreadsheet of students we're working with.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
This presentation actually give me goosebumps. So Chief and Melanie and Shelley and Sergeant Nichols, thank you very much, because this is what is community policing and resource office is all about. Because, you know, myself as being on the school board and even, with a counseling degree, I understand, the social and emotion and the homeless issues that even go beyond, because we got a lot of students over there struggling, not just academic, but also, with mental health issues like depression and a place to live or to go home and do homework or even, to sleep in. Because I remember even a few years back, Hawthorne School District, we had about 44 families that were homeless. It was that we call them NPH, non-permanent address. So this program, for you guys to go out there, even to help one student is fantastic. But even to identify almost 22 students, that's break my heart, because I know this is what we have to do as a city leader, and with you guys' help, is to help these students and help these families. So that is where, my agenda on homeless is a priority. It's a number one. That is where, since that I got elected, I try to help, be part of the homeless task force, because I want us to make a difference, because we know a lot of people are struggling out there, especially with the COVID-19. Even myself, I have the preschoolers, I have to give parents about 22 Chromebooks because they didn't have computers at home. So to give, a food, especially you see some families sometimes, like you said, they don't have no cars, and they have to go sometimes with the shopping carts or even like little bit to get their food for those go and grab food at the school's site. So your work, I have to tell you that I have to take my head off, because I know, we have a lot of family struggle out there, especially students, especially, we expect these students to do well in school, right? To be outstanding. But if they don't have no food or even a place to go home to do homework, how can they be excellent? So for you to give them a hand and to give them some certificate or some food, that is a tremendous achievement. So like Ms. Valentine said, I'm very proud of our Hawthorne PD. Melanie, Shelley, and Sergeant Nicholas, please continue to do the work, because you guys are the heroes. And to help these children succeed and to care about them is a tremendous achievement. So my heart goes to you. And I have to say, Hawthorne PD, you are the finest. All of you out there, make sure that we are safe, during this pandemic, after, because there is a lot of other issues out there that you guys are dealing every day. But to go and help these students, these children, is very commended. And again, my heart goes to you. And anything I can do, one phone call away, one email away, and I help people all the time. And Chief, congratulations, and to the Officer Gomez, Jose Gomez, for the Medal of Valor. So that shows that our Hawthorne PD is on the forefront of excellence. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and God bless. And all of you ladies, stay safe out there and help these students. And like I said, I'm one phone call away. Anything I can do, I'll do it. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, you froze. Nope, I cannot hear you. Can anybody hear the mayor?
I believe his camera and microphone went out.
I think our IT folks are out here. Let me go help.
City Attorney, just an FYI that your mic is on.
Give tracking, Paul. That's good.
So I've been asked to continue with the meeting because the mayor's mic is off. So
It's a conspiracy, Miss Valentine.
okay. So Where are we in the meeting?
We're on the, I'm about to read the oral communications once you let me.
Please go
We're gonna
ahead.
have no more presentation. huh?
Perfect.
Please, Mr. City Clerk, go ahead and do that. Read the guidelines for oral communications.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. During oral communications, speakers shall have 3 minutes to state their business. The Brown Act prohibits the City Council from providing a detailed response or acting upon any items not contained on the agenda. The governing bodies as a body shall have the discretion at the close of oral communications to refer your remarks to the city manager for study, investigation, report, and or recommendation. Pursuant to Government Code Section 5494.3, the public shall directly address the legislative body concerning items that have been described in the notice of special of the meeting. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body and not to any individual council member. So tonight we have 14 speakers. So the first speaker, yes. Hello, Tierney. Okay. So our first speaker is Tierney. Tierney, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I have very serious concerns that I need to be addressed. So we all know this pandemic has ravaged the country, and unfortunately, Southern California in particular has had an enormously difficult time taking care of its people. My concern extends particularly to our houseless populations. Aside from Project Roomkey, which isn't always an available option and requires folks to commute long, oftentimes unsafe distances to seek shelter that may or may not be in healthy, livable conditions, there are no real solutions for those most vulnerable at this time. Police sweeps have continued under the idea that it's to help sanitation, but in reality, we may have carriers of the virus in these communities that are not only being asked to relocate from where they feel safer, but may also be spreading the virus to other areas of Hawthorne and the greater LA area. Because of this, stating the reasoning of sanitation doesn't satisfy these concerns. Beyond this, there are many more now at risk of being houseless due to what seems to be not very well thought out plans by landlords to raise rent on folks. If it has been extensively thought out, I can only assume this means those involved in allowing these determinations are devoted to protecting the interests of a few. Otherwise, we need real solutions that consider the entire population. More than ever, we desperately need human compassion. And leading cities from any position should never be a matter of convenience. We need real solutions for the houseless, and we need solutions for those at risk of being houseless, and we needed them yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Tierney. Have a good evening. Okay, next we have Phil. Hello. Phil, can you hear me? Okay. Phil, you have 3 minutes.
Wonderful. Hello, City Council members. We're closing in on a year of lockdowns and quarantine, and many of our communities have not had much help and resources from you. I've spoken to many of our house's neighbors, and they have told me that they have had trouble accessing alternatives like Project Roomkey and have struggled to find local support systems such as food, healthcare, shelter, financial help. How well do you sleep knowing that our neighbors recently were freezing in the cold rain while, empty hotels sit in an abundant resource in your back pocket? And, recently county infection rates have been going up. The air quality has been very poor. And knowing this, our houseless neighbors are at higher risk of contracting COVID with these sweeps. I am calling to demand that you provide services, not sweeps, to our houseless neighbors. Furthermore, raising the rent during our ongoing pandemic is also leaving families at risk of eviction when there's lack of tenant protections for both renters and homeowners right now. And, the lacking of the resources that you're giving and the debt that's piling up for us is going to collapse, your lovely city here. And I also want to say that affordable housing options have not been available, and the waiting list has been closed since 2017. Raising the rent is absurd when very little time and access has been provided for distribution of rental relief options for our communities outside of your lovely online spaces. Newsflash, not everyone has internet. Putting our community members in vulnerable position of eviction from COVID debt does not reflect the city of good neighbors, last I checked. For every dollar spent on re-election campaigns this year, lower income community members are watching your lack of action, empathy, and urgency speak louder than flyers, complacency, and empty words that you supposedly care for us. I demand that you cancel rent to ensure your communities do not collapse from your ill choices to put property over people.
I'm sorry.
Is that the end of your comment, Phil? Thank you. Next, we have Rio. Rio, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Rio. I'm calling from Inglewood. I just wanted to comment on the support that the city is offering to our unhoused community, how small that is and how it's absent. I think it's important to include some type of housing for all unhoused folks during this pandemic. It seems like that has not been something that y'all have been talking about, and I think we need to stop the sweeps and we need to house everybody during this during this health crisis. And also we need to cancel rent. If we cancel rent, then people don't have to go to work and we can slow the spread of COVID-19. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, next we have Miss Melissa Mateo. Okay, Ms. Mateo was not on, so we're gonna go on to the next. We're gonna go on to the next speaker, Mr. Matthew Zaro. Mrs. Zaro, can you hear me? Mr. Zaro, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Matt Zaro, and I'm a resident of Hawthorne and a member of Streetwatch LA. I want to thank Councilperson Angie Reyes English for standing up for our unhoused community at the last City Council meeting. I support her call to allocate the full $90,000 to providing services to our unhoused residents who still have no legal place to sleep in our city, no safe parking, and no access to life-saving services. I once again call on City Council to suspend sweeps in our cities. The sweeps here in Hawthorne are counterproductive, cruel, illegal, and expensive. Forcing people to break down their shelter, carry their possessions they can, and losing what they can't carry is extremely destructive and destabilizing. This makes it harder for people who are trying to piece together their lives to succeed. Hawthorne should be helping people get off the streets by supporting them with services like access to trash pickup, so their trash doesn't build up around them. Access to bathrooms, so they have a clean and safe place to urinate and defecate. Showers, so they can stay clean and presentable for job interviews. Access to electricity, so they can charge their phones to access government services and employment. Think about this. If one of those unhoused Hawthorne High students weren't in a motel and had to sleep on the streets of our city tonight, they would be considered a criminal in our city. I was happy to hear that Hawthorne is considering building a shelter in our city. I want to strongly encourage this council to include the voices of unhoused people living in Hawthorne in the planning of these Caltrans property project. If you are authentically interested in helping supporting our unhoused community, you should start with asking them what is actually helpful to them. Assuming you know best is not only paternalistic, but also foolish. I'm calling on the City Council to never raise rents in our city's low-income housing. The quote-unquote mistake the city has been making is that they were charging these people what they could actually afford based on a percentage of their actual income. Hawthorne City Council should be discussing canceling these people's rents, not raising them. Not in a year, not ever. You would easily be able to fund housings like this if you would listen to groups like Hawthorne's in Hawthorne, like South Bay Community Care, and defunded the bloated Hawthorne PD. Hawthorne should be working towards making free and fair public housing available to all of its residents. People, please connect the dots between this type of housing and the presentation we just heard earlier, and realize that we need to do more, not less, to help struggling families in our cities. That is why I'm challenging this council and this city to convert the Hawthorne Mall into public housing to house the people of our city. Work with Bradford, Waters, and Newsom. If they can use eminent domain to build a Clippers stadium in Inglewood, then we should be able to use it to house the unhoused in Hawthorne. Thank you very much for my time.
Thank you, Mr. Zaro. Next, we have Miss Maggie Clark. Miss Clark, you're on. You have 3 minutes.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Miss Clark.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Maggie Clark. I'm a Hawthorne resident who's called in a few times before. Like others, I'm calling in tonight in support of using the entire $900,000 surplus, which the Housing Office has asked for direction on spending, to provide housing and services for the unhoused residents of Hawthorne. I've been really excited by conversations I've had with some of you about this project, and I look forward to seeing real investment in supporting our unhoused community here in Hawthorne, particularly since this is a population that's definitely going to grow when landlords are able to start evicting people. One thing, though, that I haven't heard anyone mention, which really disappoints me, is a call to include unhoused voices in the process of conceptualizing and planning these projects. The fact is that if you are not or have not been unhoused, you simply don't know what you're talking about when it comes to unique needs of this community. I talk to unhoused neighbors multiple times per week, and I'm still constantly surprised by how little I know about their experience. If the purpose of this project is to meaningfully help the unhoused, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that it is, then this step really can't be ignored. I'd also like to comment on possible rent increases for those living in subsidized housing or public housing. I suppress my support for not raising the rent for these residents during one of the most destabilizing and dangerous times we've faced in our lifetime. I'm glad to see that this proposal recognizes the cruelty of such an action, and I support following the recommendation not to raise rents on already vulnerable residents. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. You have a good night as well. Next, we have Ms. Megan Mitchell. Ms. Mitchell, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Council. My name is Megan. I'm calling in tonight representing 68 of my North Hawthorne neighbors, all who have signed our digital COVID safe petition, which you should have a copy of. We would like to urge the city to turn the intersection of 116th and Birch Avenue into a 4-way or all-way stop. Currently, it's a 2-way stop. You should have a copy of the petition, a map, as well as pictures of some of the wrecks that have happened there over the last 3 years. I work a full-time job and I've been home to witness 9 wrecks over 3 years, and one involved a passenger van carrying 5 people that flipped over. This intersection is dangerous for everyone. In 2020, I saw a car take out a tree in the house catty corner to me from their yard. Birch Avenue is the first through street east of Hawthorne, and 116th is the first street south of Imperial. Both of these are used as bypass streets during peak traffic hours. You also might not know, but there are approved plans for 3 more hotels on Acacia Avenue, which is just 1 block west of the intersection I'm referring to. And you can see that on the map I provided. These projects are going to add around 1,000 hotel rooms to this area. And the traffic department will tell you that the projects aren't expected to impact local traffic patterns. However, each hotel was actually approved by the commission and the council as individual projects at different times and not as a collective. So it doesn't take a traffic study to understand that the addition of 1,000 hotel rooms on 1 block with a parking lot entrance on 116th, just 200 feet away from this already dangerous intersection, is going to increase traffic. So the neighbors were concerned about safety, obviously. Many of the residents have lived here for decades, much longer than myself, and have suffered accidents, including my neighbor. His daughter was in a wreck a couple years ago. So many of us go out of our way to avoid this intersection when we're commuting or walking to and from the metro. According to the petition, you'll see some comments, and one of them is from Ms. Johnson, who says that the corner is like playing Russian roulette. Ms. Martin says that she lived here for 3 years and has witnessed over 20 accidents, and Ms. Zapata says It's a dangerous intersection. She has kids and she doesn't feel safe being outside sometimes. I've been discussing this issue with the traffic department since I moved here in 2018. And in 2019, it was brought to city council, a traffic study was conducted, and we were told it didn't meet the state requirements for an all-way stop. So they painted the curb red. We still have wrecks. My neighbors are genuinely scared to use this intersection, and we definitely believe that our concerns need to be more proactively addressed. We hear the crashes from our bedrooms while we're cooking dinner. Then we all go outside with brooms, help clean up the wrecks, and we check on the drivers. And this should not be something that is considered normal, and we do it frequently, like more so than any neighborhood. It's kind of just like,
you have 10
oh,
seconds,
haven't
Ms.
seen you
Mitchell.
in a while.
You have 10
So
seconds.
we're asking for an economical and even a cheap solution, which is give us 2 stop signs heading east-west on 116th, and it will greatly improve the safety.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Through the chair,
Miss,
through the chair.
Just a moment, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. City Manager? City Manager.
yeah, Ms. Mitchell, go ahead. Mayor Vargas is going to say something. Go ahead.
Mr. City Manager?
Yes.
The group over there has a well-documented case of 9 wrecks. And I really don't want to I don't really want to talk about the chronology of all those things. It's over 2 years. Can you please just expedite this and put this on the next agenda, please? If we need,
Sure.
let's just, I don't know what there's to debate about it, you know? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
I was going to ask the same thing, that the city manager follow up on this. It's obviously needed.
Yeah, I think at this point, there's nothing much to debate. There's just too much information there, and I think our staff just needs to move on this. And are you okay? Councilmember Patterson, are you okay with that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I don't usually just skip steps, but I think at this point, there's just too much frustration at that corner. 9 wrecks is too much. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Follow up with you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Great, thank you.
Next, we have Sarah Klenia. Go ahead, Sarah. You have 3 minutes. You may want to mute your the audio from your meeting.
Okay, sorry. Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Hi, good evening, City Council. My name is Sarah Klenda, and I'm calling to echo what a lot of the previous callers have said and ask that the City Council make efforts to support and serve our unhoused neighbors. I'm calling to support the councilperson Angie Reyes English's proposal to spend the full $900,000 of the COVID-19 grant money on services for our unhoused neighbors. These people have been traditionally left out of services and, I feel like has been neglected by the city, where the city, instead of providing services, has been sleeping encampments, which causes displacement and is a violation of CDC guidelines, which I think is especially important now as we enter almost an entire year of this pandemic and the virus continues to spread. We need to be doing everything we can to keep our community safe. And I think that includes not sleeping encampments, not displacing people, and instead providing services for them, such as power, bathrooms, showers, and access to sanitation. I would also like to call on the city that as they move forward in planning these kinds of services or potential shelters, that they include unhoused voices in those discussions and in the planning. Obviously, any kind of program like that, we would want to be effective and helpful and work for people. And there's no better way to know how things are going to work than including the people they're going to serve. And lastly, I'm calling on the city to not raise rents on the city's low-income affordable housing units. This seems very obvious. We are in the middle of a pandemic. People are not working. They're facing very financially difficult times, and raising rent on low-income housing units will just exacerbate the housing crisis we're already in, and that's going to get even worse as we come out of this pandemic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, next we have Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, am I on right now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. Hi. Happy New Year, everyone. Name is Ruben Sanchez. I'm the president of the North Hawthorne Community Association. I'm calling because we're requesting a little bit more vigilance, police vigilance on Imperial near Eucalyptus and Gale Avenue. Due to the situation that occurred last week with the shooting, unfortunately there was someone who was killed there. But this is something that the neighbors have been talking about, a lot of gang congregating around that area, especially around that public parking area between Gale and Eucalyptus. It's in front of 11537 Gale Avenue. But one thing I noticed was that there's no signs there that says no loitering. So there's a lot of people who hang around that area sometimes, and they're smoking music and so on. So a lot of people are concerned. As you can see, Mr. Jimenez is putting up the photos that we supplied. These are not just tagging. This is gang-related graffiti. So we're just trying to be more preventive of all this gang situation that's going on. We know the cops are doing a great job. Now we just want a little extra vigilance in that area. And also something about not giving out a lot of beer licensing on Imperial, because this is the results that we get. The loitering is a big issue in that area as well. And I hope they can look into that. I wanted to touch on the base in regards, because I know they're talking about homeless. First of all, the presentation was great. That's something that we already know about the police department, that they have a big heart, and that's what they've been doing for a long time. But after listening to a few people, I realized that they're misinformed, because you see, they're talking about Angie English. And as we all know, for the people that do live in the city of Hawthorne, the Crenshaw projects, okay, the Crenshaw project is what raised the rent. And guess who supported the Crenshaw projects? Mrs. Angie English. She supported gentrification. For all those people that are on the phone talking about homeless, talking about unhoused homeless residents and so on, you guys are supporting the wrong individual, because she supported the Crenshaw projects. Okay, that caused gentrification in our area. That's why a lot of these rents got real high, and a lot of people ended up homeless or leaving our city. Okay, so look into, do your homework. I'm challenging all of you to do your homework. Look into the past of Angie English and the people that supported the gentrification of the Crenshaw project. Okay, the people who voted for it. Her sidekick, Haydar Awad, was another person who voted for that. So guess what? The people remembered, and he's out. He disrespected our city also by leaving what 4 council meetings before. That's very disrespectful to our city, and hopefully all the residents.
Mr. Sanchez, you have 10 seconds. Mr. Sanchez.
Okay. So please, I challenge all of you to look and do your homework. For all those people who are protecting the homeless, which we do need to protect it, and we have law enforcement to protect our homeless and helping and giving out resources. Do your homework before you speak. All right. Thank you very much, Ruben, North Hawthorne Community Association. God bless, and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Next, we have Princess Amugo. We haven't been able to get Princess, so we're gonna, let's see.
Oh, in the meantime, I'm going to ask Chief Ishii to, Chief Ishii, are you there?
Yes,
Are you online?
I just want to briefly comment on Mr. Sanchez's.
We can't give a full detailed response. Can we wait right until the end after all this?
Yeah.
Well, is it brief? Is it brief?
Brief. Just, yeah, we are aware of it. We are putting resources on it. Our gang team is aware, and
Thank you.
we're working closely with our graffiti to make sure we address that right away.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for that. All right. Okay, next.
Yeah,
speaker.
next we have Princess Amugo. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, I am calling in support of what members from Street Watch LA have been saying about wanting to move forward on Councilperson English Reyes' proposal to spend the full 900,000 K, 900K of COVID grant funds on services for Hawthorne's unhoused population to 2 and encampment suites in Hawthorne. And 3, include unhoused voices during discussions and planning meetings for a potential homeless shelter in Hawthorne. The leadership of unhoused folks is very key in any sort of direction towards developing resources, developing services. Without that leadership, it is exactly how someone else has put it, extremely paternalistic and extremely wrong to just guess what our unhoused neighbors need. Also, I think it's really interesting about looking at the presentation that was given earlier about the folks that are being helped out by the police department are also the same folks that the police department does to criminalize. So I think this is something that needs to be talked about, and also in conversation with defunding the police eventually, in order to put that money that would have been going to the police department into the community. I think rent should be canceled, and that rent shouldn't be raised as well, and eviction should all stop. That's what leads to more folks being houseless. So I'm in support of what others have said. I think also the city houses should change their policy of not reading emails. I think these emails that have very detailed critiques and also new proposals as to what the city of Hawthorne can do for the community are some things that need to be talked about and be brought to the forefront. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next, let's see. Next we have G. Salvatierra.
Salvatierra. Or Salvatierra.
Hello, G. Perfect. G, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead. G, can you hear me? Yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You may want to mute your computer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a delay in there.
An abolition line. All good?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. All right. So y'all just love to throw police at any problem that arises, never addressing the root of the problem, always enforcing law and controlling your people. Because let's be incredibly clear, when you bring police onto any issue, it will always be the forced and enforced. More surveillance and police presence in affordable housing not only shows how little you trust your constituents, but how you're also willing to insert potential violence rather than directing money to social services that will actually address the issue. Speaking about misdirecting management, let's talk more about housing. In 2018, the Hawthorne City Council accepted the money from Measure H and a 5-year plan to address homelessness. Emphasis on address. This is when the unhoused population count was 74. 3 years later, we can clearly see that what the city has done to address homelessness is not working because that number has quadrupled. On an issue that requires compassion, investment, and commitment from everyone, the city has placed the burden of, quote, addressing, unquote, on its ill-equipped police department, as well as one service coordinator. This city is 74% renters. Without addressing renter needs, unhoused needs, the amount of our neighbors finding themselves on the street will only increase. Yet, the trajectory of this human rights crisis in Hawthorne can still change. Do not raise rent, especially in what is supposed to be affordable housing. Include unhoused voices in planning for Hawthorne's future shelters. Move forward the proposal to spend the full $900,000 of COVID grant funds on services for Hawthorne's unhoused population, not towards police paychecks and not on sweeping encampments. Once again, adopt rent control, include unhoused voices, end sweeps, and most importantly, defund the police. Thank you.
Thank you, G. Next, we have Allison Anaya. Allison, can you hear me? Okay. Allison, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, for sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you're going to want to mute your computer in the background. Go ahead.
All right. Hello, Council. I hope y'all are having a good night. And you know, at least some of these words stick to y'all head. So I'm calling today in support of our unhoused neighbors who, especially after this rainy and windy season, need more housing and resources for shelter. And I really hope this, you know, the beginning presentation, that y'all keep in mind, right? Like, as was said before, the police are the people who are oppressing unhoused people. And there has been, you know, lots of contact with unhoused youth over here that we've had with South Bay Community Care. And we're noticing, you know, the best resource is housing, is keeping a roof over someone's head, is making sure that they have psychological, mental resources as well. And we encourage that all these resources, not just for high schoolers, but for the people who are currently out on the street, come from the police budget, as well as a support for the 900,000 to unhoused residents for health housing, to end sweeps, for baths and showers, for food. I also want to voice my support for the Hawthorne Mall being converted into public housing through eminent domain to do something positive with something in our community. And I want to continue to say cancel rent. People in this city do not have any resources, as we just discussed today, that waiting lists for affordable housing is not happening. And we are asking, right, that this goes beyond home visits, and this is actually giving resources to the community members, because giving an award and some random things is not what the police should be doing right now. We should be creating our own resources. It is high time, it is past time that we need to develop housing resources, that we need to develop food resources, that we need to make sure that people are going to be safe. All these state things are temporary, and we can't keep looking upwards. We have to create valuable change right now and create radical change right now on the ground. So I'm going to voice my support again to Street Watch's demands and actions, as well as the calls to continue to defund the Hawthorne Police Department. I want to say also this budget is going to show where the priorities lie, and it really needs to take a stand, and it needs to be very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Next, we have Lely Fernandez. Hello, Ms. Fernandez, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Lely Fernandez. Good afternoon, Mayor Alex and Council. I am at 11322 Fermona Avenue. I have lived and grown up here in Hawthorne. I've seen a lot of changes in Hawthorne, good and bad. My concern is the downfall of Imperial Highway, the North Hawthorne Highway. HPD worked on the sweeping of prostitution on Imperial and did a great job. Ever since, though, I've noticed 3 particular automobile shops and liquor stores from Imperial and Hawthorne to Buren and Hawthorne, or Inglewood and Hawthorne. No less than a quarter mile from each other. With auto shops taking over, loitering, including residential parking, to high-density units approved by Council Angie Englishman, who is now back on and support the Crenshaw projects. I hope that you, Angie English, do not repeat the same actions of high density as you did in the past. I voted for you this time, and it looks like you have a sincere heart what to do with the city of Hawthorne. And I hope that you clean up what you've done in the past, and hope that you realize its mistakes. High density does not belong in Hawthorne, and neither does homelessness. I pay taxes. A lot of homeowners here pay taxes, and we do not pay it for somebody to live on the sidewalk. My safety is in your hands. Moving along, loitering is prohibited in the city of Hawthorne. It must be enforced to avoid any future crime. Let's nip it in the bud. No more murders on Imperial Highway. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Melissa Mateo. Hello, Ms. Mateo. Okay, go. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Melissa Mateo. I'm calling in support of what folks from Streetwatch LA are saying. I think it's very important right now more than ever to support our unhoused neighbors. You guys have the power to make these decisions, and instead of investing in funding your police, you should be switching that money to provide resources for our unhoused neighbors, especially now that we're going through a pandemic and just dealing with rain and everything else that folks have to deal with in the streets. Your main priority should be addressing the immediate needs of your constituents, your neighbors, and taking action to ensure that they're having their immediate needs met and that their safety is being prioritized. Also, I'm calling for the cancellation of rent, and I'm calling for y'all to defund your fucking police station and switch that money to providing resources and support to the unhoused neighbors. Basically, I'm calling to echo what the folks from Streetwatch LA are saying. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
That is the end of public comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the speakers. Wonderful comments. It's good to hear like people's different ideas. So and we'll just move ahead with the rest of our agenda.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I have 5 items on my consent calendar for your approval. Item 6, approval of city council minutes for the special meeting of December 15th, 2020. Item 7, approval of waiver of full readings of resolutions and ordinances on tonight's agenda. Item 8, finance director requests approval of the warrants. Item 11, resolution number 8258, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, approving the 2019-2020 Development of Impact Fee Annual Report. Item 12, resolution 8260, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, proclaiming the month of February 2021 as Black History Month for adoption.
I make the
I'd
motion.
like to pull number 12 for discussion.
Okay, since my motion was not seconded, we can still do that. Okay, which one was that?
12.
12?
Yes.
Okay, council member or Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank
Okay, I make a motion on all other items except 12.
Second.
Move.
All right, I'm gonna give that to Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item number 15. Am I out of order?
Are you guys gonna speak on item 12?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. I just want to first of all thank the city attorney's office for the very exceptional write-up of the of item 12 on Black History Month. The first thing I'd like to say is we do this every year, proclaiming February Black History Month, and I would like to make it permanent that February of every year be proclaimed as Black History Month. Can we do that? That's my first issue. Instead of having to do this every year, because every year it's Black History Month and it comes up every year, but it's such an important occasion. We shouldn't have to approve it every year. It should be permanently enshrined as far as I'm concerned. And I'd like to do that if we can.
I concur. Montero concur.
Can we establish when Hispanic Heritage Month is also?
Sure.
And then we just, can we roll that into this, Mr. City Attorney? Mr. City Attorney.
City Attorney, you muted.
Where is he?
Yeah, I can do it in the future. And I'll
Okay,
do it in the future for Black History Month as well.
Okay, so you're gonna rewrite this?
Yeah, but you can go ahead and approve it for tonight.
Okay, so we're going to make this annual, right? For this item, correct?
Yes.
And then you'll do the other one for the next one at the next meeting. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Has it been?
And also my other point was to congratulate the city attorney's office for the very fine write-up of the history of Black History Month and also the resources so that people in the city can go and view different observances in different other places of Black History Month. And that's very important. And I think it's a great resources to our citizens. So I thank you for that.
Okay, excellent. Can we, has it been seconded?
I second it.
Okay. Please, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. So number 15.
Ordinance number 2209, second reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, adding chapter 3.26 to title 3 of the municipal code in order to codify the real property transfer tax ordinance of the City of Hawthorne for adoption.
I make the motion.
Second.
Please vote.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Okay, so next we have general matters, Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we've got item number 17 is first up for general matters, and this is the selection and appointment of candidate to fill the vacancy in the office of the city treasurer. So staff's recommending that the city council appoint one of the finalists, either Gregory Fallon, Marie Poindexter Hornback, or Jose Tobar to fill this vacant seat, and that the city clerk immediately swear in the newly appointed city treasurer.
Let me take a look. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item?
To the chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. I have to say that I want to congratulate to all the candidates who applied and at interview with us on the 19th. I did review all the interview again on YouTube, thanks to our cable TV. And I'm making a motion that we appoint Gregory Fallon for the position.
I make
Second.
I'll give that second to Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
No.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council's voting yes, except for Patterson voting no.
Is Mr. Gregory Fallon here?
To the chair.
Mr. Gregory Fallon? I'm going to ask Mr. Gregory Fallon just to say you're going to be sworn in. Mr. City Clerk, you still need to swear him in, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Treasurer-elect Gregory Fallon. Congratulations, sir. Do you have a couple of words for the community?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with all of you and doing what's best for the city.
Okay, great. Councilmember Montero?
Again, I just want to say that to the other candidates, especially Marie Poindexter and Mr. Jose Tobar, I would recommend for them to contact the city manager, and because we do have advisory boards, that they will be welcome to apply, for the finance advisory board and also for the Imagine HH advisory board. Okay.
Okay, congratulations to them as well on my behalf. All right. Thank you so much. Congratulations once more. Please talk to the city clerk, or the city clerk will reach out to you, or if you guys could reach out to each other so you could do the official swearing in.
Yes, we will reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Finance Director Felice Lopez has an oral report on item number 18.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. First, we will have our audit firm give a short presentation, and then I will be providing a brief summary of the CAFRA highlights. So if I could have Terry Shea and Garden Duran go ahead and give their presentation.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Are you there, Garden?
Yes, I'm right here. Good evening, Honorable City Council. I'm Garden Duran. I am the manager for the audit of the financial statements. This is Terry Shea. He is a partner and we're both from Rogers, Anderson, Melody, and Scott. First and foremost, we wanted to thank you for the opportunity that we were given to audit the financial statements of the city of Hawthorne. It has been an honor. We also want to thank Felice and Frank and, the city manager, the rest of the team, for all their hard work and for working with us and making our job as easy as possible. So it has been a pleasure working with them. And, the main goal of this audit is transparency, and they have made our job very easy by giving us all the information when we ask for it and by being very professional. So Eric, if you can please put up the presentation that we sent. What we wanted to do was just going to a general overview as to what we do with the audit and our responsibility as auditors and our opinion. If you can please go to the next slide. So overall, the main thing is talking about our responsibilities as auditors of the city's financial statements. And so basically we audit the city's financial statements in accordance with GAAP and governmental auditing standards. And we also plan the audit to express opinions as to whether management's financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP. We provide reasonable assurance, not absolute. And in this case, our opinion is an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of opinion that a city can receive. So congratulations. If you can please go to the next slide. So overall, I wanted to talk a little bit about our audit process and what we do. Every year when we come in, the very first thing that we do is get a broader understanding of the city. So we'll review all your controls, your processes in place, and from there we determine what it is that we're going to actually do and test at year end. Part of those procedures include like data analytics, where we actually look at your records using different software that we have. We inspect documentation, we confirm balances from outside institutions for your bank, for your cash investments, things of that nature. We also read the minutes and make sure that the city is in compliance with your contracts and that transactions have been approved by council and other compliance items. Can you please go to the next one? So some of the required communications would be our SAS 114 letter, which is communications to those charged with governments. In that letter, we basically communicate with you how the audit went, our responsibilities, your responsibilities, and if we had any issues or misunderstandings with management, which in this case we didn't. We worked very well with management and they were very open with all the information for us. We also report any significant deficiencies that we find or material weaknesses, which, in your case, we didn't identify any material weaknesses to report. So that's, congratulations, it's great. Other things that we do is we assist management with the preparation of financial statements, which in your case, we, help management prepare these financial statements. And we make sure that, you're following all the latest GASBs and that everything's presented the way it should be. And it gets submitted to the GFOA for transparency and you receive the certificate on a yearly basis. So that's pretty much the overview. If you have any questions, we're available here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, this is Felice, and I'll give a summary of the CAFR highlights. And then if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask when this is complete. So first of all, the city had a positive outcome for 2019-20. The general fund actual revenues exceeded budgeted revenues by approximately 8.1 million in fiscal year 2019-20. The excess revenue was due in part to an increase in tax and special assessment revenues of 6.5 million and licenses and permits of 512,000. This resulted in an increase of 2.2% in the general fund revenue compared to 18-19. The three major sources of this increase were property taxes of 6.1% increase, Sales tax increased 0.8% and business license taxes increased 11.8%. Always a major concern for the city is the general fund balance. The city's unrestricted fund balance for the general fund has increased from 26 million at year end 2018 to 37.2 million at year end 2019. And we're pleased to report that the unrestricted balance increased once again at fiscal year end June 30th, 2020 to 44.5 million. This is approximately 62.4% of the total general fund expenditures. The city's long-term debt at fiscal year end totaled 152 million. It's an increase of 121.6 million during the fiscal year, and this was primarily due to the issuance of the 2019 pension obligation bonds. As you know, these bonds were issued for pension unfunded liability in order to reduce the annual payment due to CalPERS. So the result of that was that our annual POB payment is now fixed at 6.7 million for the next 30 years. The city's operating liabilities, which include OPEB and pension-related debt, total 224.2 million, and the general fund is responsible for approximately 2.1 million of that debt payment. As determined by the latest actuarial valuation, the city's OPEB liability increased by over $2 million, and that total is over 107 million. The city currently pays post-employment health insurance for its retirees on a pay-as-you-go basis. That payment for fiscal year 2019-20 totaled over $2.5 million. Staff will be evaluating options for pre-funding OPEB liability in the next few months, and will bring recommendations to council about developing a long-term plan.
Phyllis, we can't hear you anymore.
Okay. Are we done? Just I'll let you
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. Somehow I got muted. I'm not sure what was the last thing that you heard.
You're developing a long-term plan.
Okay, we will be developing a long-term plan to address the liabilities when the analysis has been completed. The city's net position at June 30, 2020 reflects a net deficit of 38.4 million, and this is an increase from prior fiscal year 18-19 of 11.4 million. This was primarily due to increase in capital contributions, grants, and property taxes. The city's annual audit was completed with no findings, and the finance department prides itself in reporting complete and accurate information while also maintaining proper internal controls. That concludes our report. If you have any questions, we are available for questions.
Through the chair, I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, council member.
One of my first questions is curious from our auditors, is there any recommendations that you guys offered after looking at all the things you looked at? So I was directed towards Terry or Garden.
I think that, we've been working with the city for the past 5 years. So when we first started the audit 5 years ago, we had, plenty of best practice recommendations as far as improvements. I think over the years, and none of it was reportable. It was just, a better way to have more transparency, to make it easier for them to give us their records, to keep track of things. Over the years, Felice and Frank and their team, they've done such a great job of keeping everything properly documented. Everything that we've recommended in the past, they've put into place. They're always seeking better ways, to improve the reporting and to, keep all their transactions properly recorded. And all of their staff, it seems, it's very evident to us that they're very proud of what they do, and they're constantly looking to improve their processes. So overall this year, I wouldn't say that we had any, recommendations, even small. It's just, overall, just, consistency is everything. And so we're hoping that they will continue to stay consistent, and they have been staying consistent year after year. And so you should be very proud of your finance department because they are doing a great job and they're going out of their way to make sure that they're not only doing good work, but that they're properly documenting anything that they do.
Great. I have a couple other questions that, whoever can answer it would be our finance director or auditors. I was looking at page 9 of the CAFR, and I'm a bit of a numbers person, so this stuff interests me a lot. It discusses the revenue ending fiscal year June 2020. And there's a number of different titles. I was hoping you guys can go through those with me really briefly, explain to me what all those revenue sources are.
You gonna do it, Garden, or?
Yeah, well, do you have page 9 open right now? I had it
Yeah.
open and then it's,
Page,
go ahead.
page 9 is the MD&A, and it lists charges for services, operating contribution grants, capital contribution and grants, property tax, sales tax, transit occupancy taxes, and then the franchise taxes and business license, utility users, and then other. What's in the charges for services is like your building permits and that kind of thing, anything that the city charges to recover their fees. Operating contribution grants, those are federal grants, and a lot of your MTA project, your Prop A, Prop C, and those kind of grants, and your gas tax. The capital grants, similar to that.
Let me ask you a question though. The charges for services, is it safe to believe that that's like money that we can spend, or is it just we're just recovering costs?
Yes.
So
those are fee-based costs to recover the city's fees and the cost of supplying those services.
Would it be safe to really count those towards our our discretionary revenue and like being able to direct that money places?
No, it wouldn't be, you couldn't direct it. So, I mean, you have more than enough costs, to cover your fees. So if you were to take a look at the cost of your billing department and all your stuff like that, it would be hard to move these to another, to self-direct these. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so makes sense. And operating grants, of course, is not the case as well. Either with operating grants, those go directly to specific purposes. It's not general fund money.
Right.
Capital contribution grants, that'd be the same thing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Property taxes, I do understand property taxes. And I just want to confirm something. We get property taxes from the jets that are parked at our airport. Is that correct?
From where, sir?
Our airport, the jets that are parked at our airport.
Those would
housed there.
Property taxes. Those would probably be like you're talking like tie down fees and that kind of stuff.
No, I was under the impression that the jets that are housed in our airport, that we get some type of tax from those on an annual basis.
Yeah, we wouldn't be in these revenues here because these are for the general fund. Your airport is an enterprise fund, and so it's a separate schedule. So if you look at
so the city doesn't get any kind of tax benefit from the planes that are permanently housed there?
Yeah, you get what's called a unsecured tax, like the real property is secured and the jets are unsecured, so you would get some unsecured tax on those. Sure.
And where would that show up at?
Yeah, so you could see that page 29.
That would be in the property tax numbers as well.
So that would be in property tax numbers.
Yeah.
Is there a way where would I be able to identify how much that is versus real property?
The county provides a schedule every year that shows what the levy is for the secured and unsecured.
But out of this 19 million though.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at that. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but you could find that out, but it'd be a lot of work. So to find, because it's just unsecured for like all the businesses that have capital assets in their business, that's all in there too, as well as the planes, and everything is kind of combined into unsecured. So.
Gotcha. Is there a place in the CAFR talks where it identifies unsecured versus secured?
No, we just have the total property taxes. So.
How do we find that out?
The county sends over annual reconciliation that includes the secured and unsecured levies.
Is there any way we can find that out, city manager?
I'm sure police receive that packet from the county.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have
we
that
can-
information. So
We'll take a look and we'll provide that information.
Sales tax. It's probably not for this conversation. I'm just curious. It's probably more the mid-year budget review. I just want to, I found it interesting that our sales tax revenue increased, given the fact that 3 months, we were pretty much shut down. And so I'm curious what the sales tax revenue was, I guess the first half of last fiscal year versus this fiscal year.
We'll be discussing that at the mid-year report.
That's awesome. TOT tax, same thing. I'd love to know that. So I saw that was, yeah. What's franchise taxes?
That's like your cable companies, Edison, cable companies, SoCal Gas, anybody that runs utility lines through your city, they pay a franchise fee. It's usually up to like 2.5% or 5%.
Business license tax, that's just people applying to open a business in our city, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And utility users tax, got that. And what's other?
Other has the real property transfer taxes. So like when you, if you sell your house, there's a fee that goes to the county that flows through to the city called a real property transfer tax. You have some public safety augmentation funds. What else is in the other? Just things like that. We have like or the finance department has a trial balance that lists how all these numbers are made up of. So if you want some detail, we can give you, the exact detail, what makes up all these numbers.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then actually one more question on sales tax. Probably could be addressed later. I would love to find out what makes that number. So like, what are their top contributing sectors? And then who are our top contributors individually to using sales tax in the city?
Elise, do you guys hire HDL?
Yeah, we have a consultant who can provide the details on what encompasses all of the sales tax.
And it's some of it's confidential only for city manager and council. So some of it can't be shared to the public.
Correct.
Yeah, if I can get that, that'd be awesome. I think that's all I have for the moment. Let me flip through my notes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
To the chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the audience, to give the City of Hawthorne the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Report. I have maybe a couple questions, maybe some clarification. On your report on page 2, goes to after the certificate, if you go to your report, at the end of the paragraph, you said, we do not express an opinion on provide any assurance on the information because of the limited procedures do not provide us with sufficient evidence to express an opinion or provide any assurance. Can you give me an example of that? Because you repeat that in several other areas.
Well, we're mostly talking about the supplementary information in that case. So if you look at the information at the very back of the report, in that level of detail, or even the statistical section, those are the areas that we're saying that we are not providing an opinion on.
You want to know?
Okay, and you would say that you've basically, you found a very solid checks and balance on the receivable and payment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there is a solid evidence.
Yes, the city has solid internal controls in place.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anybody else? If not, I make the motion to accept the report.
I move second.
Okay. Mr. City Clerk, I have this here. I guess can you hear me? Yeah, the city clerk is going to read roll call vote on this item, please.
Okay, Councilmember Montero?
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine?
Yes.
And Mayor Vargas?
Yes.
The vote reflects Mayor and City Council voting yes.
thank you, Mr. City Clerk, and I have some documents here that I'm going to put on place where you told me, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, police.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you, Duran.
The city attorney will now read a recusal statement for Councilmember Patterson for the following item. Mr. City Attorney? Wait. I just got booted out of.
You're muted,
The 19th.
Mr. Attorney.
What's going on here? Okay. Can you
Mr.
guys
City
still hear
Attorney,
me?
you're muted, Mr. City Attorney.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
As to item number 19 on the city manager's consent calendar, Councilmember Patterson will not be participating due to an appearance of a potential conflict of interest. There is an appearance of a potential conflict because the council member at one time provided financial assistance to an individual currently residing in city-owned housing. He no longer provides such financial assistance. However, he will be recusing himself because of an appearance of a conflict. At this time, I ask that our meeting administrator place Mr. Patterson in the waiting room while the council considers this item.
Okay, and then I also want to, there's people asking why I have my mask on, and if there's people in my office, yes, there are. We have IT that's trying to get me back online. So if anybody has a problem with that, realize that I was offline, for a little bit. So they're trying to get me back online without any issues, okay? All right. What do we need to do? Actually, Councilmember Patterson needs to step out of his office, so he can't be listening. Can he be a bystander? Can he observe?
He already has been frozen.
He's out.
He's out.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, that's great. All right. Housing Manager, Kimberly Mack, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Vargas, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine, council members, city staff, and guests. My name is Kimberly Mack. I am the city's Housing and CDBG Programs Manager, and I come before you today to speak about rent increases for city-owned multifamily affordable housing units. The city owns 6 affordable housing buildings totaling 38 units with covenants that last through 2064. There is 1 senior building and 5 multifamily buildings. Rent is either calculated at a very low income or moderate income. Very low income is calculated at the product of 30% times 50% of the area median income, and moderate is calculated at the product of 30% times 110% of the area median income. Both are adjusted for the number of household members and family size. Staff has reviewed and determined that the city has been charging rents that are too much for a few cases and too little for most because income was used to calculate the rents. Income should be used to determine eligibility, not to calculate annual rent city would charge a tenant. So unless specifically directed by City Council to charge a lower amount of rent, rent should always be in accordance with the annual limits established by the Department of Housing and Community Development, or home programs. The city has not conducted rent increases consistently in over 9 years. There is also an issue of tenants being placed in units that they're not eligible for. There are very low income residents placed in moderate income units. And this is really important because if the city were to raise the rents for these units to the proper amount, most would be forced to move. The low rents are financially impacting the city's ability to maintain these properties without subsidies from other funds. Staff projects that the city will need to subsidize this program with a little more than $100,000 of general fund revenues by the fiscal year 21-22 if rent increases are not implemented, and will need to continue until rents are sufficiently increased. Additionally, just to note, city properties are not subject to the statewide ordinance rent control legislation, AB 1482, that was enacted in January 1st of 2020. On average, the city collects $371,000 in rental income annually. That is $224,580 less than should be collected based on the ACD home rent limits. These funds are used to operate the program, and they are the only funds that are available to operate this program. So in order to provide for the financial stability of this program, staff recognizes the need to ensure that rents are appropriately charged for the city's affordable housing units, and that rent increases are considered on an annual basis. However, the magnitude of increases that some tenants would be facing if rents were immediately increased to the proper amounts would inevitably cause significant hardship for these tenants. And additionally, staff recognizes that the current COVID-19 pandemic has already caused financial issues for some residents, and that any rent increase in the near term could be proved problematic. So at this time, staff recommends that the city not implement a rent increase during the fiscal year of 2020-2021. As part of the fiscal year 21-22 budget process, staff would propose a rent increase amount that would be implemented if the economic impacts of the pandemic subside, and corollary general fund subsidy that could be used to support this program if rent increase is not authorized. Additionally, one of the housing department's fiscal year 21-22 work plans would be the development of a 5 to 10 year plan to bring rents to their proper amounts. The plan would be presented to the City Council for consideration in the fall of 2021. Now, if the City Council is not supportive of this recommendation and desires to take action on issues now, other options that are currently available to the city include: implement the full rent increases immediately with proper notice to all tenants, implement a 5% increase immediately with proper notice to all appropriate tenants, and provide notice to them about the program's financial status and the potential for future rent increases that may significantly be higher than 5%. Explore ways to reduce expenses through the contracting out of maintenance and repair services and other cost-saving measures, and explore the possibility of selling properties to qualified organizations. So the Housing Department recommends that the City Council discuss the issue and provide direction as appropriate, considering the times. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation from council?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, ma'am.
First of all, I recognize we have a very difficult problem here. We need to increase the rents because the tenants need services, and the city cannot afford to continue to subsidize the apartments without rent increases. In the near term, however, because of the impact of COVID-19, I would recommend that we not increase rents right away, that we study what exactly we need in order to receive a plan from the staff for a minimal increase, the minimum that we need in order to properly service those apartments and provide proper service to the tenants, the minimum amount. I'd like to receive a staff report that shows us by what amount we need to increase the rents in order to provide provide appropriate services to the tenants. what is the least amount we could afford in order to provide those services? What is the least amount of rent we could afford to receive? So my thought is, or my recommendation would be not raise the rents right now, but actually develop a plan by which we receive this report, so that we can do this in a properly planned manner.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll agree with Ms. Valentine for us to come up with a plan, not to increase the rent right now. I also would say that, for fiscal year 2021-22, because that will begin in July 1st, so 6 months, almost less than 6 months, I would recommend that whatever plan that we come up with to increase the rent on the on incremental level, like Kimberly stated, about 5 to 10 years, right? But to begin 22, 23. Okay, instead of 21, 22, I would say so we'll go like almost a year and a half without any increase until fiscal year 22, 23. That's my recommendation. So we'll give people plenty of notice, and also we will come up with a plan how we're going to do it effective that will not cause economic hardship to our tenants. And we understand that this has not been done for 9 years. And believe it or not, according to HUD and Home Fund, we should have increased rent every year. But we didn't do it. And so basically, I understand a lot of people during the public participation were trying to say to cancel rent, but we cannot do that, because then we would be a slumlord, right? Because if we don't maintain those buildings, those people will not be living in the condition that is sustainable and also recommendable. So I would say come up with the plan. How are we going to do it to increase the rent to the level that we're supposed to, incremented, and started 2022-23 fiscal year. That's my recommendation.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
I'd like to just drill down on that point again.
Okay, go ahead.
If we don't start it right away, if we delay it until 22-23, is there any way that we could subsidize the loss of revenue through COVID relief funds?
Mm-hmm.
And this is directed to the city manager.
So I will rely on Kimberly to answer that as it relates to the CDBG and home funds. My understanding would be no. Is that correct, Kimberly?
That is correct. Those funds cannot be used to subsidize those properties.
So, however, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine, the city did receive CARES Act funds, as the council is aware of, that were in excess of $1 million. And so we have freed up general fund revenues this year because of that. And so if there was a desire from the council to use general fund revenues kind of as a surrogate for some outside grants that we got, that could be available. And I think that would be our intention for certainly fiscal year 21-22. If there's not a desire to have rent increases, that we would come in essentially with an acknowledged general fund subsidy of that program.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so to the Eric. So basically, we will subsidize the program for a year and a half, right? And each year is about 100,000 or more. It's like 170,000 a year.
So I think it's varied throughout the years, and because the records have not been kept in a manner that's presenting what the total subsidy is, I think we're gonna turn a corner and we'll start reporting to the council what that is when you're considering the budget, so you have a very clear understanding of what you're approving.
Yeah. So potentially that we're going to have at least coming from the funds, about $200,000 to subsidize until we can begin to increase the rent.
Yes, I think that we're looking at probably about 100,000 from next fiscal year, but I think you're also pointing to the current fiscal year, which is probably about 100. And I think that this is, it's probably years in the making. And so this is something that council is really just going to continue to do until we have the ability to do incremental rent increases at the right time.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, so I move on my proposal, my recommendation.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson.
No, he cannot vote.
Oh, my bad. Councilmember Valentine
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The
Yes.
vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank
City
you,
Manager.
Beverly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. City Manager, your items, please.
Can you bring Mr. Patterson back in?
Oh, yeah.
Are you back in, Mr. Patterson? He's back in. Mr. City Manager, your consent calendar?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have items 21 through 24 on my consent calendar for your consideration.
I make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson. Oh, you're muted, sir.
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
So that was item up to item 24, correct?
Yes.
So we're gonna do the discussion items. Councilwoman Reyes English is not here. She has 3 of them. I think we need to just be careful how we temper the amount of discussion items from each council member. So we're gonna have to discuss that at some point. Item number 28, Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So essentially, I just want to ask the city manager, and of course, get everybody else's input on having a written cash management policy. So essentially, something that talks about how much cash do we want to have like on hand in our banking account versus what's going to be put somewhere else that might not be readily accessible in LAIF or in longer term. And LAIF is liquid as well, but LAIF are longer term investments. Additionally, right, if we're in a position where we have a savings account that pays more than our checking account, having some type of policy that identifies how will we take advantage of that. I know rates have changed now, so I don't know exactly what those rates are today, but I remember at one point our savings account paid 2%, and we were maintaining a large amount of money in our checking account, and it would have made a lot more sense to have really no more than 1 month's expenditures in our checking and the rest in our savings. And, you can just transfer the money back and forth. But that, at that time would have made a tremendous difference. And I know we made a little bit of change a couple years ago, which contributed to, according to the CAFR, us bringing in about $700,000 in return on our money from all the different ways that our money was invested. But, I just want to make sure that I think it'd be a good idea to have some type of written policy about, how our money's handled.
Thank you. Thank you, council member.
If you guys, nobody has any objection, I'd like to ask the city manager to, put something on the agenda that we can vote on.
I have no objection as of now, but do we have a discussion?
I can go to bring us something and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah, because it's fashioned by you or in conjunction with the city attorney, then we could visualize it a little bit better after reviewing it more carefully and see, if it's a good idea as a whole, partial modifications, etc. Thank you, Councilmember Patterson.
I'd like to see that also, have the input of the finance department
Okay.
to see, because I know they have some concerns about liquidity. So whatever policy we have has to take into account, I think, I know we want to get as
Our
much
cash needs. of course.
interest as is possible, but we also have to take into account how much liquidity we need on a regular basis so that we don't run into a problem with that. So, so I would like to have the input of the finance director on that as well. But yes, I'm in favor of the idea of the
Yeah,
policy.
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I'd like to see what the city, what Councilmember Patterson has. I don't want to take, I'd like to give him an opportunity to help create the first draft of this thing, and then we could kind of just go in and start questioning things or adding things and taking away. Do you know what I mean, Councilmember Patterson?
Really, I'm asking for the staff to create some stuff, and
Oh, okay, so you're going to be fully dependent on staff then?
I'll give my opinion about it.
Okay, okay then.
Maybe before it comes to the full council though, but I just, obviously the finance department needs to be involved in that, and they understand our cash needs, but there should be some kind of formalized policy.
I just didn't want to take away I personally don't want to take away anything from whatever outline and draft you had in your mind, but if that's the way you want to proceed, okay.
I have no problem working with staff as they put together something to come back onto the
thank you
budget, but just something I thought makes sense that we have in place.
Cool, thank you. Councilmember Montero, 31.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason that I put this for discussion because I want us to be transparent, right? Because we know the cannabis regulation is very complicated, and we want to make sure that we do right thing to be transparent and make sure that try to limit litigation or lawsuits in the future. So I would propose for us to have a request for proposal, how we're going to come up with the cannabis program in the city of Hawthorne. Okay?
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
I have a question.
I'll second the motion.
Well, I do have a question.
Yes.
If you don't mind. So you want to ask for proposals for consultants to put together an ordinance for the
chair, not just an ordinance, because what I want actually, this is going to be dealing with a lot of different issues, from application fee, permits, zoning, legal maneuvers, security. So all the things combined, how we're going to do it. By the meantime, during my discussion, I'm going to ask the city planning department and the legal department to begin working on zoning issue, on ordinance for the cannabis program. By the meantime, what we wanted to put an RFP out for the people that have done this cannabis program to come up with a specific plan. How can Hawthorne create a cannabis program in the city of Hawthorne? So it's not just ordinance. They have a lot of different categories that they have to come up, like I said, from zoning, from legal issue, from how application fees, application permit, all those things combined to give us an idea how we're going to do it correctly.
I have a question. Mr. City Attorney, I have a question. How long does RFP process take?
We can do it probably 2.5 months.
Oh, no, 2.5 months, Russell.
Well, want to be able to get a lot of people to respond.
Well, usually what?
They're swarming around like flies.
Hold on. In my request for proposal, usually you give them about maybe 3 to 4 weeks to respond.
Oh, they'll find out about it. Oh, they will find out about it.
Yeah. Russell, usually when you put a request for proposal, right? So you put it out there, and then you have a plan that maybe 3 to 4 weeks then for them to submit proposal. Okay.
Okay. I guess we'll try to expedite it in less than that, 2.5 months.
All right.
No, that's too long, Russell. I think at least I would say in 45 days, we should be getting some proposals.
Okay.
Well, we're going to bring it to the city council on February 9th.
Yeah.
Just for you.
It's not about just getting proposals, is making the choice, right? It's putting out the request, getting proposals, and then the choice is made.
We have to put a bid out there, like a request for proposal, right? So Russell have to draft a request for proposal, and then bring it to city council for approval, and then we will release it.
Yes, and that's February 9th already.
Correct.
And 45 days from February 9th.
Then, February 9, and then you'll say March, maybe second week in March, we should have got some proposals.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, thank you.
By the meantime, Mr. Mayor, what I want Eric to do for me, please.
Yes, sir.
Getting the planning department and Russell's legal department to begin working on zoning issues, right? On zoning and where we could potentially have some of these cannabises, things, and also on ordinance, right? Because there is already a lot of legal jungle out there already that on ordinance and also on zoning. Are we gonna do on commercial? Are we gonna do it on industrial? Are we gonna do an overlay? So all those type of discussion have to be already the city have to begin to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's city council directed. So we'll bring it back on February 9th to discuss that at the same time that we issue the RFP for approval. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you, Russell.
Okay.
Sure. Just to clarify, we also have the consultant that did the original feasibility study that we're intending to work with to update that feasibility study to give the council an update on what the potential revenue streams are and what type of licenses the city could be considering. And so that work, we would recommend doing that outside of this RFP process because we can do that in pretty short order, potentially coming back on the 9th with that information for the council.
That in fact, I'll say go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is
So
there anyone?
can we vote on that request for proposal, please, Mr. Mayor?
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Thank you.
I'm gonna skip to number 33. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the closed session?
We didn't receive anything.
No. If not, I'll declare oral communications closed, so ordered. I will now recess the city council meeting to conduct a closed session for the conference pursuant to the agenda. We're in recess.
3 minutes. Do we have to leave this thing goes to the other one?
Okay, who's gonna create join the breakout room, please, now?
CalRecycle began rulemaking immediately after the law's passage in 2016. Jurisdictions should start planning now to meet the law's requirements.
1383 will affect every resident and every business in the state of California. CalRecycle is here to help local governments understand and implement this new program.
Start planning now to connect large food waste generators with your local food recovery organizations to help feed hungry people where you live. Start planning now to expand organic waste collection to all homes and businesses in your area and increase your local capacity to recycle this material. Start planning now for rate changes to fund these efforts, new ordinances for mandatory recycling enforcement, and changes to existing franchise agreements or hauler permit.
Some of this is new and some of it requires more of what you've already been doing, but all of it requires planning now to make sure programs are in place by January 1, 2022.
Recycling organic waste is an essential part of the state strategy and one of the most cost-effective ways every Californian can reduce their own greenhouse gas footprint. Together, California will create a more sustainable future, combat climate change, feed more Californians, and improve the health of our people and our planet. CalRecycle is your committed partner in this effort. Get in touch with us to learn more about available support and resources to help you succeed. And talk to your staff about strategies for the next steps for 1383 implementation.
negotiator has been instructed.
Okay. Council members' reports. We'll start off with City Clerk. City Clerk, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for watching from home. I just have a few updates. So first, I want to announce to the community that if anyone has thought about going back to college, the El Camino College and Santa Monica College will start their spring classes on February 16th, 2020. The majority of students who attend both of those colleges receive financial aid. Just for example, about 80% of all students at SMC, new students, got all their classes for free. So I wanted to share that with you in case some of you are thinking, I don't want to go back because it's too expensive. Because California is one of the most affordable places in the entire country to attend community college. I'll be providing an overview of the community college system and how to go back to college via Zoom on February 2nd at 12 p.m. The link to the Zoom will be provided via our social media sites. Next, please be safe out there when it comes to COVID. Unfortunately, cases are still high, so it's important to stay isolated. And when you have to go out, please wear a mask. And in regards to vaccines, if you're age 65 or older, please go to vaccinatelacounty.com or call 833-540-0473 between 8 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., 7 days a week for assistance with appointments. We've provided this information via our social media sites. That's all for me on my end. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Patterson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What City Clerk said sounded spectacular. Encouraging people to pursue their education or further their education whenever possible. Education really changed my life and has kind of made a big impact on the trajectory of my life. I grew up very poor in Compton, moved around a lot as a kid, and going to college, I did a lot for my life. And so I fall in love with education, and I've always kind of stayed in school. Most of my adult life still in school now. So I think that's spectacular. I want to thank Officer Yoshida and Howard Police Department for the great work you guys are doing in the community. And I hope that we have some really good opportunities to get that information out to the community. I hope we are communicating all of our successes and our wins to the public so people know what we're doing, right? Know when we're doing some good things and know when there's great opportunities that exist for the community. I want to congratulate the finance department. The auditor gave some great accolades saying that things have improved over the years, that there was no recommendations for any changes. I think that's a great thing to get from your auditor. So I want to congratulate you guys on that. That's a big deal. A few notes. I want to congratulate our new city treasurer, Mr. Gregory Fallon. Excited to have somebody follow me that has almost or maybe even more financial related certifications than I do. Brag a little bit, right? I have 5 investment licenses and 4 insurance licenses and my real estate license, and a bunch of degrees. I'm getting my PhD this year. But our new city treasurer has his CFP as well as a couple of securities licenses. And so I think he'd be a great addition to the team. So I want to congratulate you on your appointment. Just want to talk a little bit about cannabis in the city of Hawthorne. I think it's great that we're going to pursue the right information that makes sense for our city. There's a lot of cities that have done it a lot of different ways, and if that's something for our city to consider, we want to make sure we have all the right information. We don't want to do it just because it's cool, right? We also want to really evaluate what licenses may or may not be right for our city. While I personally think that some revenue that we should be able to take advantage of, I don't know if all the different uses make sense for the city of Hawthorne. So definitely makes sense that we evaluate exactly what those options look like and have some professionals to do so. But at the same time, I do believe there's a lot of information out there I don't think there should be a lot of effort to go ahead and compile that information. And we are entering February, so happy Black History Month. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Monteiro?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you for all the public for comments about homeless, about the rent increase. Because yes, we do know and we acknowledge all those comments. And I would like to actually ask the city manager that if it's possible, the next meeting we can have a homeless task force, the Hawthorne Homeless Task Force, to come and present what they've been doing out there and to give people more, clarify some of the issues that they brought into today's meeting. Okay?
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, on the 9th, we're actually looking to do an update on our 5-year plan to address homelessness. So I think it's going to be a bigger item than you even just suggested.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, so I want to again congratulate the police department on the outstanding work they've been doing there in our community, and again to reiterate the congratulations to Officer Jose Gomez for the Medal of Valor. So keep doing outstanding work in our community, and we know the police department has been going beyond the duty because of this COVID-19. So thank you for all your service. I want to congratulate the new city treasurer, Mr. Fellow, and welcome to the city of Hawthorne as a city treasurer. So now you are a public official, and I'm pretty sure that our city treasurer, former city treasurer, and even the city attorney will give you a crash course on how to conduct our business over here in the city of Hawthorne. So welcome. Just again to reiterate, some of the directive that for the planning department and the city attorney to begin working on ordinance and zoning issue for the cannabis program, so we could put that in motion next week when you brought up for the request for proposal. Because like I said, we want to do this transparent, and so we'll have no issues in the near future about how we came about to create a program for the city of Hawthorne that will benefit the community overall. Again, I want to thank everybody for a great meeting, a great discussion, and we'll continue to do our business for the best interest of the people of Hawthorne. So I appreciate all the outstanding comments from the public, and we hear you. We hear you because we know we need to come up with a plan how we're going to unhouse the people that don't have no homes, and to deal with issues of homeless in our city, and also come up later on about how we're going to create program that will benefit the low-income families. So thank you and good night, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem.
She's mute.
You're on mute. But,
Sorry.
But I could read your lips. But if you want to repeat it.
I will. Okay. So last night I joined Chief Ishii at the 360 South Bay Homeowners Association meeting to respond to their concerns about a rash in package thefts. There was a significant number of attendees at the meeting. It was a very lively discussion. And apparently package theft seems to be a growing problem nationwide as a function of this pandemic. Mostly because more people are home and shopping online. Some of the takeaways I found significant were that the owners had not been reporting package thefts, and so this did not give the HPD significant stats to provide insights as to any trends. Some of the suggestions given by the HPD to prevent package thefts are universal, which means that they could apply to any group of homeowners, not just 360. So you're better off trying to prevent these thefts than trying to apprehend the thieves after it happens. You should receive packages at your workplace if you possibly can do that, and instead of receiving them at home. if you must receive packages at home, try to have them coincide with the times you're at home. Other suggestions were cameras and video doorbells have proven effective. And something new that I was not aware of that the chief suggested, use Amazon lockers that are set up by Amazon at some stores. That seems to be something that would be very effective. All in all, it was a great community meeting and just typical of some of the things that the HPD does. Tonight, I want to congratulate them. I want to congratulate the officers who went out and responded to the students who were homeless. Emblematic of what goes on with our Hawthorne Police Department all the time, all of the great community service work that they do, making the city really the city of good neighbors. And also I want to congratulate Jose Gomez on winning the Medal of Valor. So tomorrow is the big day for Hawthorne Business Expo 2021. I hope you're all planning to attend. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have a jam-packed agenda, including a keynote speaker on lean business planning. There will be 2 panel discussions, and we're even going to have some entertainment this year just to break it up and give people a little bit of fun. So we're going to have a comedian and a singer. Log on to hawthornebusinessexpo.org and you will be sent a link to attend the program. Just a word about cannabis. As you know, I was not opposed to allowing retail cannabis in the city of Hawthorne. However, since the council has decided to go in that direction, I think it is a good idea, and I support Council Member Montero's suggestion to have an RFP, to have a professional consultant give us direction on what is the most effective method of establishing such a program in Hawthorne. I'm especially interested in finding out if this is projected, what the projections are as far as revenue is concerned. It is my opinion, as I've expressed before, that the city is not going to make as much money as promised in the early days when cities were promised that they would make millions and millions of dollars if they established retail cannabis. However, I think it's a good idea to have a professional consultant give us an idea of what exactly we could expect. And so I support the idea of having a professional consultant give us that direction. I applaud all of the people who came out, who expressed their opinions tonight. Some of which I do not agree with, as far as the fact that they're saying that the city of Hawthorne does nothing to help the homeless. We are part of a homeless task force. We have many programs in the city in which we work tirelessly, especially through our police department and our public works department, to identify people who are homeless, to give them wraparound services to the best extent that we can. So that part is not true, that we do not do anything to help the homeless. So I'm disappointed that some residents feel that way. The homelessness is not an easy problem. It's something that's, it seems to have grown, it's grown. It didn't just grow in our city, it grew throughout the state. So, and it's something that we have to tackle, and we are tackling it. So, and the last thing I want to say is, yes, Black History Month is coming, and we're looking forward to attending a lot of events around Black History Month and encouraging our residents to do so as well. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, everybody else, no go backs?
Mr. Mayor, just make sure, mention about the new COVID-19, easy about now we're gonna have the outdoor dining again.
Yeah, so, okay, correct.
Mention that.
No, absolutely. So, as you all have heard, the governor has decided to roll back the restrictions from this last 2 months that we've kind of we haven't been able to sit outside in the patios to eat. We haven't been able to go get our hair cut. You know, look, see, this is like, you know, or you know, you just try to do it yourself at home, and you know, and so so it's been 2 months like that, and so we're gonna go back to where we were 2 months ago, where we're gonna be able to go eat outside. You know, social distancing is important still. We're gonna be able to go get our hair cut, so not too many people within, or nail salons, not limiting the amount of people that you can go in. So it's still, in a sense, it's restrictive, it's protective, you know, but we're moving back towards, you know, what you call it, opening back up. But if you guys have been looking at the numbers don't indicate a decline in COVID-19 cases. So um, I believe, is it a relief that we're opening up? Yes, it is. But is it wise? That's still up for debate. Okay. Because there are people that are dying, there are people that are being infected, and it's still a real thing. So um, I don't know. Like I said, it's up for debate if this was a wise choice to open back up. Some people may argue that it's a political decision, etc. That's still up for debate as well. But I just hope that all our elected officials in Sacramento and in LA County take a serious look at the numbers, and at any indication at which the numbers start increasing dramatically, we have to just, I would support going back to the slightly more restrictive and protective measures. But we'll see where we're at, and I think we're all giving we're all giving this an opportunity to see how it develops. Okay. So I as well, I know that we do have a lot of people that are coming and expressing their views. Go ahead. You know that you're free. This is your First Amendment right to express your views for or against policies that the city council or the city government or things that are occurring here in the city. You can give your opinions for or against. It's up to you. If you know you think your ideas are not popular, or if they are popular, go ahead. But I also agree that, you know, to make a blanket statement that the city of Hawthorne has done nothing, like you have done nothing, or statements that come from the audience there. You're free to say that, but whenever you make blanket statements that nothing has been done, nothing to improve the status of those who are homeless and those who do not have housing, and those, you know, that the city has done nothing. It's a blanket statement that if anybody's out there is listening and has seen what the city has done, I mean, it's up to you if you want to make those statements and risk being discredited by making those statements. So you're free to make those statements. The city of Hawthorne has a homeless task force that is looked at by all of the local South Bay cities and cities outside of the South Bay as an example of what can be done to help. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. I agree. There is room for improvement. Is there more that can be done? There's more that can be done here in Hawthorne, in our neighboring cities, in LA County, in other counties, in the state of California. Absolutely, there are a lot more things. But the city of Hawthorne has been bold enough to create a homeless task force that no other city here in the area has instituted. Okay, so to say that the city of Hawthorne has done nothing, no, that's incorrect. That's not true. That's false. And we're proud of like the people that we have that are working in this homeless task force on the different things that they do. So what I rather hear is, how can we improve what we already have? Additional suggestions. I mean, I think that would be a better way to approach these things. Okay, but if you really want to continue the way, just saying that there's nothing being done, well, go ahead. That's fine. Okay. And I guess that's pretty much it, but everybody's free to come up and say what they're going to say, etc. So that's America. That's that's the Constitution that ensures that we get to express ourselves in a civilized manner, in a civil manner, and that is what has been happening. So I'm very happy that the discourse has taken place in the manner in which it has been. So yes, again, COVID-19 is a real thing. I had a family member that passed away. I've had the priest at our parish from St. Joseph. He went back home to Peru. He passed away as well from COVID. People are passing away. So let's be careful, wear your masks, and let's try to make this slight reopening work so that the numbers don't increase and people are protected. So I'd like to end the meeting actually with a moment of silence for all those who have passed. Let's spend a good 10-15 seconds remembering all those who have passed due to COVID-19 and other things. Thank you, folks. May they all rest in peace.
Amen.
Okay. This meeting is adjourned.
Bye. Night. Night.